Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hut. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're back here, Baseball Hut 2, and we're going to run down a bunch of teams that could be moving players and teams that could be picking up players. So it's a little bit different, a little more focused in on 4 teams, or 5 or 6 teams, or whatever. And of course, we're going to go do this, and this is stuff that I've looked online, okay? Some of these teams I'm not completely familiar with in terms of what they want to do, but I looked online for you, give you a hodgepodge of players that could be moved, and whether there would be a fit there for each of these teams. We'll start with the Yankees. Now, the Yankees, they lost. They lost to the Blue Jays. To record this video, I'm watching Game 3 of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays in the first inning. But let's start off with the Yankees. The Yankees have a lot of needs, obviously. They don't have a first baseman. There's going to be an issue at shortstop because Anthony Volpe had to get surgery. They don't have a center fielder. They don't have a left fielder. They're a team that has a lot of needs, and mostly it's intangible kind of players. That's the thing about the Yankees. The Yankees are a team that needs players that have intangibles. That's been their issue, really. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Devin Williams. I doubt he'll be back. I don't think the Yankee fans were all too pleased with him this year. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with the bullpen. The Yankees have a lot of interesting moves to make. But this name popped up, and I couldn't believe this name popped up as a trade candidate, because as you know, Cody Bellinger's a free agent. The Yankees should try to sign him. I think a lot of teams should sign him because he's got a lot of versatility. He plays center field, he plays left field, and he can play first base. I wouldn't mind the Mets signing him, and to keep Pete Alonso, because then I could sort of move Pete a little bit to be a DH a little bit. And Bellinger's a very good defensive player, but instead of them re-signing Bellinger, this name popped up, which makes no sense to me. Maybe you can have it make sense to me in the comment section. This is Stephen Kwan of the Guardians. He's got no power. He's a great defensive player. He gets hits, but I see him. He doesn't really bowl me over. I'm not a Yankees fan, but he doesn't really do it for me. He's not a player that really would affect me in a positive way if I'm a Yankee fan. You give up a lot of power there with that guy. He doesn't hit that many home runs, with 10 home runs. And Bellinger's a guy that can hit 35, 40 home runs in a good year. Makes no sense. I saw that online. I was like, that's not happening. If I were the Yankees, that's kind of like saying, that's like an Aaron Hicks kind of move, for the Yankees. The Yankees have done plenty of moves like this for a guy with no power, and you can bring him in here. But that's me as a Met fan saying that from an observational standpoint. Well, next up are the Seattle Mariners. As you know, the Mariners had a 2-0 lead in the ALCS against the Toronto Blue Jays, and they blew the lead and they lost the series. This is the third time in Major League Baseball history where a team was up 2-0, with them winning the first 2 games on the road in a hostile place and losing the series, and also being 3-2 up in the series. Only 2 other times in Major League Baseball in a 7-game series has that ever happened. Obviously, the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays came back and won. The 1996 New York Yankees came back and won after being down 2-0 to the Atlanta Braves, at home. And then, of course, the legendary New York Mets team of 1986 when they were down 2-0 going into Boston, and they came back to win. And of course, an historical World Series, historical Game 6, legendary Game 6, epic Game 6. And now we had the Mariners, which is now we're on the other side of this, and this is this loss. This devastating loss the Mariners had. And how did they recoup? How did they move forward with their team? And they have a bunch of players here that could get moved that are on their team. Now they have a young catcher called Harry Ford. He's considered the 46th best catcher, the 46th best prospect in Major League Baseball. And he really doesn't have a place to play because obviously Cal Riley hit 60-something home runs this year, which amazes me how he was able to do that to be honest with you. I wonder. But we have that situation, and Luis Castillo is a guy that could be moved. Obviously, he's been there a long time. He was with the Reds for a long time. He's a guy that is an innings eater. The guy pitches every fifth day. You know what you're getting at him. That's a guy they could make available in trade. We have another pitcher, Logan Gilbert, who pitched at times really well in postseason. A younger pitcher, less innings. He has a lot of talent. He's not a number one starter. Neither is Castillo at this rate. I would think Castillo's probably number 2 or number 3 at this point. But Logan's about the same, about a number 2 at best and a number 3. You could get a lot. You could probably get a lot more for Gilbert if you're the Mariners than if you were to trade just Luis Castillo. I could see a fit where the Mets could trade Jeff McNeil for Gilbert or Jeff McNeil for Luis Castillo. That would make some sense for the Mets because they could use some pitching help. They need some starters that are going to go pitch more than 4 innings. Castillo will certainly do that. And then finally, I saw on this website, Randy Arozarena, who I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be there long. I think when he got traded from the Rays to the Mariners, I said to myself, he's not going to be there long. He's the kind of guy you want to have on your team when you want to win. He's a winning type of player. He gets big hits, and postseason tends to find certain players. He's one of these players that always gets into postseason, and he gets traded this year. He made postseason. Made postseason this year at the beginning with the Rays, and he's a big postseason player with the Rays for many years. So that would be a player that also could get moved by the Mariners standpoint, and he has value too. But we'll see what they do because they don't have too much work to do. But obviously, and I said this in a lot of videos, that the American League was up for grabs. Any team could have gotten into the World Series. And the Blue Jays was such a fluke in a lot of ways because they finished in last place. Very few teams go from last to first and go to the World Series. Next up in this video is the Detroit Tigers. Now, we've been hearing all kinds of rumors that Tarek Skubal is going to get traded by Detroit, and I think there's probably a good chance of it due to the fact that they wanted to sign a contract. This is the Skubal camp last year, and the Tigers offered him $100 million for 5 years, and he turned it down. Well, when you're pitching as great as he is, you're not going to take that contract. He will look for $400 million. And obviously, it's very few teams that are going to pick him up. Want to pick him up and trade draft picks and then let him walk at the end of the season. Now, he is, of course, represented by Scott Boras. So Boras is going to take him to free agency. But if you're a team that signs, trades for him, trade big prospects for him, you're going to be in the mix to trade for him. I've heard the Mets. I've heard the Dodgers. Believe it or not, maybe the Yankees. Although the Yankees are getting some of their pitching back. Garrett Cole's coming back next year, but that's a name. He's going to be attached to so many teams. He's going to be attached to the Blue Jays. He's going to be attached to the Cubs, the Mariners. Any team that wants to spend money. Maybe the Angels. So maybe the Giants. You have a plethora of teams that are going to be after school. Now, a name that I saw attached going to the Tigers, which doesn't necessarily surprise me, is Freddie Peralta, the Brewers, who, in my opinion, he's a number 2 starter. I know he's had good numbers there the last 2 years. He had the most wins on the Brewers, but in my opinion, he is a number 2 starter. My opinion, you can dispute that in the comment section. But I heard him going to the Tigers, which, if you were going to trade Skubal, you could say, well, we brought this guy in who's an ace on another team. Now, the Tigers are in it to win it, so they have to be smart about who they bring in. You can't just, trade Skubal, get a bunch of kids, and not want to win. They went pretty far this year to win the division. They were a very good team. They went postseason, so they have a lot of value there with a very good manager there. So they're not going to just drop a Skubal and not want to win after that. That's how I feel about that. And finally in this video, of course, to finish up big, let's finish with the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's finish with the Brewers. Why not? And there are a bunch of players here that could get moved by the Brewers, one of which is their closer, Trevor McGill, the brother of Tyler McGill. Now, he is the third closer that's been there over the last 3 or 4 years, and they're going to move him. I mean, if he's close to free agency, which I believe he is, they will move him. I mean, they have no qualms about moving closers and putting somebody else, and they got a kid there in the eighth inning that they probably want to have him take over. They're very good in their bullpens, there in Milwaukee, and in their ability to develop relievers, make them their closer, and then move on and bring another guy in. And that's what they're probably going to see here. McGill will get moved, and they'll bring in a bunch of players like they did with Devin Williams, just like they did with Josh Hader. Gotta remember Devin Williams was the Rookie of the Year in 2020, and then they moved him after he gave the home run to Pete Alonso last year. They'll do the same thing with McGill. They'll move him without a problem, without flinching. And like I said earlier, Freddie Peralta will be moved because he's got 1 more year left on his contract. So he's, in my opinion, 90% chance he's getting moved. McGill maybe less than that, maybe 80%. But Peralta's going to get moved, and McGill will possibly be moved. And, of course, they have a lot of talent in their outfield. They have Frelick there. They got Chirio there. So they have a couple guys that they could move. Young outfielders. Isaac Collins could get moved. Blake Perkins could get moved. They have a ton of talent. There in Wisconsin that they could certainly move this offseason. And the Brewers are always active. They're always trying to improve their team without spending too much money. And they've been very good at that. And they're going to do that again. And when they do that, you'll see what happens. You'll see what happens. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, I'll have plenty of stuff like this and plenty of things that you'll like here. Talk about media a lot here. And of course, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. Can't wait that the baseball season's finally over. And I'll see you later.